This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Significant steps taken to minimize the possibility of any additional escapes from the Simpson Penn School for Boys. This after 13 boys escaped the Fox Hill facility in August and another 4 in October.
That particular route was used more than once, I'm advised, and so we're satisfied now that that route could not be used again. We are looking to visit one of our neighboring juvenile facilities to look for some best practice. However, we're satisfied that two things has to be done. The facility itself, there must be a focus on security of the facility, and there must be a focus on the human resources that provide the security. And we're working on both aspects.
A Cowpen Road resident has a lot of explaining today after police searched his home yesterday and found drugs. Armed with a search warrant, officers discovered 18 plastic packages with a quantity of suspected marijuana and cocaine. The marijuana weighed in at 33 pounds and 10 ounces with a street value of $33,000. As for the cocaine, police say that totaled 5 grams. The alleged owner is expected to be arraigned sometime next week. Police meantime looking for the men behind 2 armed robberies yesterday, the first at 8 p.m. From all reports, a gunman entered a beauty salon on Balfour Avenue, held employees at bay, and robbed one of the customers of her handbag before running off. Several hours later, a man was reportedly sitting in his car on West Bay Street opposite the entrance to Arawak Key when a gunman showed up and robbed him of cash and his red 2016 Honda Civic. Investigations are ongoing. And a collective sigh of relief as we're now down to the last few hours in the 2018 Atlantic hurricane season, and it's safe to presume that we've been spared. Good news following the devastation wrought by the Hurricane Irma last year and Hurricane Michael's plummeting on neighborhood Florida. Reportedly, the fiercest to hit that U.S. state in more than 80 years. But while there's always the possibility of a system forming late in the season, as noted meteorologist Godfrey Burnside tells us that's unlikely this time around.
You've known over the last several days we have a series of cold fronts moving through the islands. Therefore, the sea surface temperature are much cooler at this point in time. And that's the source of development that generates these tropical cyclones.
Spirit of all hurricanes, here's what worked in the Bahamas' favor.
The oscillating of the Azores Bermuda High, that has deflected most to the right most of the time during the season, or to the left, to the south of us. As you notice, Michael went south of us and went into the Florida Panhandle. You had, I think it's Florence, that went into Carolina. And for the most part, they actually went around us. Now, significant this season, we started with above average season or average season. But in August, they actually updated that to a lower than above.
The Atlantic hurricane season kicks off June 1st each year. And Grand Bahama poised to become the world's first commercial land-based coral farm for reef restoration, a pretty impressive step in the global fight against climate change. This now that ground's been broken for Coral Vita, a marine science company focused on growing corals locally. This would of course replenish the destroyed seafloor. Here's Grand Bahama Port Authority Principal Rupert Hayward with the grim prospect.
Today, on average, 80% of the world's reefs are dead, with 90% of the remaining reef projects projected to die by 2050 without intervention. Sadly, Grand Bahama and the Bahamas are no different. So I want you to hold that thought and imagine a Bahamas without reefs, without coral, without fish. Scary, isn't it? But it is our future unless we act.
And as Coral Vita co-founder Gator Halpern further stressed, the survival of Grand Bahama's tourism industry depends on it.
Reef-based recreation generates over $150 million annually in the Bahamas. And in total, reefs generate over $350 million in the Bahamas each year. All of these values are set to be lost as we continue to watch our reefs degrade.
So here's how Coral Vita will change that.
This coral farm will soon be growing thousands of corals to plant back into the reefs of Grand Bahama. We will be using cutting-edge methods to accelerate coral growth rates by up to 50 times how fast they grow in nature, while boosting their resilience against warming ocean temperatures. And in addition to providing corals for reef restoration, this farm will be a new ecotourism attraction, employing local Bahamians and hosting daily tours for visitors. The farm will also be an education center.
Agriculture and Marine Resources Minister Michael Pintard says the Bahamas is honored to have been chosen for the project, adding that through marine protected areas, the Bahamas has already covered at least 10% of its marine environment.
It places us in a rare category of countries who, despite economic challenges that we are seeking to address through development, that we believe it is absolutely important to protect our environment, because at the end of the day, development depends on to what extent we, in a very responsible way, benefit present generation while not compromising the future of future generations.
And Bahamas Feeding Network's Executive Director Philip Smith sporting a smile. This after getting another generous food donation to assist the underprivileged. The People's Republic of China yesterday purchased $3,000 worth of food on the BFN's behalf. According to Mr. Smith, that's enough for 1,750 meals to feed more than 40,000 people who have no idea where their next plate of food will come from. The Chinese ambassador says they'd like Bahamians to feel the greetings and goodwill from the Chinese people heading into the holiday season. Bahamas Feeding Network is the brainchild of Frank J. Crothers. Launched in 2013, it began by preparing around 450 fresh meals and distributing around 50 food parcels to its feeding partners. To date, it has distributed more than $450,000 in food vouchers to those in need. Our final story is up next.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.